Good day, author Ted Ciuba here. So glad to be with you doing a review of Volume 8 in the sub 4-minute extra mile series, Be Encouraged by the Shortness of Life. And as with all of the reviews, I like to do a brief summary, a review, overview of what the training concept is. And then we'll look at a few of the titles in the subject matter, table of contents. And I'll look at a couple of the training sessions as we go through. And I always like to read the title piece, which in this case, Be Encouraged by the Shortness of Life. So we always go right and remind ourselves a little bit about Roger Bannister. He's an icon standing for what we are about. He being the individual who defied and redefined history by running the sub 4-minute mile, an effort that they had been trying for over 3,000 years, that all of society, medical establishment guaranteed was not only impossible, but would be fatal to anybody who could even make the serious effort. He didn't believe him. He went to work intending to do exactly what he did. Only big problem he didn't have but just 30 minutes a day. He was a very busy pre-med Oxford student. And with that, contrary to all conventional training, he defied and redefined history. So you see, it wasn't a function of time. It can't be. It was not an unintended event. He went after it. What we really have is little efforts, little accomplishments, 30 minutes a day, or in your case, a training session of sub 4 minutes length. Short, focused, regular, intense, intended training sessions gear into colossal events. My friend, welcome to the sub 4-minute extra mile and the whole purpose behind everything we do. Here's the table of contents of this volume. Of course, you get to see there's always 19 of them. And this is a cool one. I like this one. If you couldn't manage it when it was nothing. They're all good, of course. Here's one we'll talk about. Don't try and see how much you can get for $1. As usual, it's a perfect day. An insight about business you should know about. And in this case, we got here two of them that are related to the r.m.s. Titanic. This, of course, is the title piece. So, it's the next mile and be encouraged by the shortness of life. There's a lot of good training session here, but we will get right to it by looking down. We're looking at just the ebook. If you couldn't manage it when it was nothing, Unstoppable Glenn Turner. Basic story is he came off the farm, very slow process, hillbilly. And everybody roared with laughter. A few years later, he got hundreds, thousands of employees. He's got airplanes, 150 businesses, companies in 9 different countries. And the people who laughed and reeled with laughter at him in the beginning now come to him asking for work. And he just says, dude, if you couldn't manage it when it was nothing, how do you think you're going to manage it now that it's something? Something to think about. Kind of like that. Be careful, be nice to the people you meet on the way out because they're the same ones you'll meet on the way going back down. Okay, next one here. Where are we going to? Rockin'. Oh, I love this. As usual, it's a perfect day. The insight for you would be your business from the point of view of the consumer prospect it's always supposed to be perfect. Everything is staged in your business world. Now, you may not be going like that behind. So it's the same thing. It's show business. What does that mean? It means in show business, there are no events happening. There's nothing happening. Show business comes off as it's supposed to every time, and people are always smiling and happy. Even if they have tragedy, all that happens behind the scenes. It's the same thing in your USP, your business. Never varies. Apply that one, right? All right, we're rocking now. Oh, it's the next mile. Meaningful. Captain Edward James Smith, known as EJ, was the most experienced of the White Star Line masters. He had over 2 million nautical miles of safe experience. a long and admirable career, and he was the one selected to captain the maiden voyage of the Titanic, the largest, most luxurious passenger liner in history. Of course, you've seen the movies, you know the stories. It was a festive time. They were out to the North Sea under the command of a man who knew how to sail a ship. And you see what happened. That's why in all our efforts we need to be very careful. Success in the past does not equal success in the future, or the present for that matter. We've got a man who, it's well acclaimed, made errors in judgment that caused that great disaster. And we take this training session, we take this to heart for our own stuff too. Success in the past does not equal success in the future. It's always the next mile that matters. It's just like when we're driving, you know, it's not what you did yesterday, it's what you're doing today. Are you safe today, right now? Like people, I've driven 15 years on a motorcycle and never had an accident, yak, 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 and I can hear that skeletal voice behind me. Yet. We know who's going to win. Business success is the same thing. I've seen it, you've seen it. People unbeatable, unstoppable. Show business the same thing. Make a few errors in judgment. Crushing disaster. It's a message for us. Training session. Always maintain consciousness. Always do follow the systems, the checkpoints. Get the mastermind at the helm so we know what to do and never violate the sound principles, which he was doing, by the way, EJ, that brought us that 2 million nautical miles of success. Hubris. Desire to impress, it was. That's the way it looks from the surreal deck of the Titanic, 13,000 feet below the surface of the sea. And here's the last piece we're going to look at, my friend, and it is the title piece, Be Encouraged by the Shortness of Life. And so you'll know, in all the reviews I like to read, and we're off. Amidst all the luxury of the r.m.s. Titanic, amidst all the tragedy and human errors, I'm reminded of the fact that life is brief. Surprise! I've seen murals, I've seen photographs of some of the victims, all the way from the very young people on up. I've seen a young boy in a suit and tie who looks to be about 7 years old, sharp and clean. And there are older gentlemen, all the way up into what looks to be their 70s and 80s. And every range of dress and elegance in between. There's high society, there's first class, there's second class. And there is one very attractive, wholesome woman who survives. If you saw the love story, Titanic, you know all this and more. It reminds me of the fact that all of us have an allotted time. And it doesn't matter whether that happens to be 7 years or 77 years. It's still as brief as a match strike in the big picture. One day, you too will be history. All of us will be. We can't pick the exact moment. And we can't expect the same thing from someone who's 7 years old as from someone who's 27, 47, 77, or 107. But perhaps we should consider that not one of the hundreds who transitioned that festive night died from old age. My advice is to make your contributions today. And yes, to board the adventure of the Titanic today. To live life to the max today. Because you don't know if tomorrow will come. Anyway, nobody can know. It could have happened anywhere. It could have happened another way. Anytime the passing of the life of an individual or a group. But if you don't live, love, and produce in the life moments you now do have, while you do have life, we do know it will end. And we do know you don't have to live like a crass animal just surviving. You can make a contribution in your family, in your business, through your profession, through the services and goodwill you offer to the special groups you benefit. And the world will be better off because you were here. Heaven aside, in the end, what better earthly thing can you accomplish? That the world is better off because you were here. And if you want a chance, since tomorrow's uncertain, even in the midst of grasping the adventures, you don't know how it'll turn out. Do please live. Live this moment. They call it the present because it is a present. They call it eternity because it's now. Now is the only thing that lasts forever. The wise ones from the East revere it as the eternal now. Almost makes you want to drop to a reverent position and intone And when that next coming now arrives, it probably won't be on Earth, and at least I don't know that any evidence says it will. It certainly won't be in the same body. And I'm not getting into theories of reincarnation or life after death. I'm getting at the life of the individual on Earth is short, and you don't know how short. Make your contributions now. Live. Take your adventures now. Love and contribute today. Don't be afraid. Be encouraged by the shortness of life. My friend, thank you for tuning in. This is author Ted Ciuba saying thanks for tuning in to the review of Volume 8 in the sub 4-minute extra mile done by the author Ted Ciuba. Be encouraged by the shortness of life. Be encouraged by the shortness of life.